Hey everyone, welcome back to another exciting episode of Tech Productions. Today, Bankrupt joined once again by Jake and eventually Jimmy.
What's going on, y'all?
And today's matchup is me versus Jake. I brought back Villainous. Pretty much everything else has been done this past set, and I'm just doing whatever I want, and that's being lazy. And Jake has brought us back the Trunks Vegeta, but he's included the dash packs to it. So let's get into it. Oh yeah, there's buttons, stuff in the links. Let's check it out. Do you like the new cards?
So the new Z leader is very, very potent and is something that this deck probably needed in order to keep competitive. The Goku and Vegeta line, the new evolution line that came out for this deck, I'm not as big of a fan of because what already existed was just so strong. Um I really wish that the one drop Goku and Vegeta didn't have the two or less clause on switching an opponent's battle card to rest mode, or maybe said up to two, because the main thing that I find myself wanting to do with that card is discard it to switch blocker tokens to rest mode, and you just can't use it for that.
You mentioned a Z leader, and we'll talk more about it when it occurs. It's a funny interaction with that. Once you Z awaken, and if you don't get rid of the Vegeta, don't you kind of lose out on that, right?
Yeah, if you Z awaken and you still have a Vegeta underneath your leader, there's no way to detach it, as far as I understand.
So this matchup was gonna be very interesting, and we do best of one sideboards. So I did sideboard two of my Broly's from my sideboard into this matchup because your Vegeta is very good at just getting rid of cards, and it's very annoying. So I want to do the same thing back to you. So if I were to be able to establish a Broly, I can just swing and then warp your Vegeta for so you can't have it anymore.
Yeah, and my thought process going into this turn is that it's going to be pretty important for me to establish these Vegetas, and I'm going to have to do them, or going to have to do it repeatedly. Because, like you said, you're just going to be able to remove them in kind. So I'm expecting a lot of removal, and I'm expecting kind of like a slugfesty matchup. Uh, so we'll have to see where things go from here.
And unfortunately, the one drops both have barrier, so I can't even touch them right now with what is in this deck currently. So I do have, I think, the Broly in my hand, but I opt out to just go with the Janima play using the leader's ability instead of the Janima's ability, which in most cases is actually really good because I can bounce like these one drops back to my hand to just replay them again. But I wanted to hang on to the Broly, like I said earlier, so when you went into your Vegeta, I have a way of sniping it. And here I just kind of combo off the one drop.
Get a little bit of pressure.
And for maybe people who aren't fully familiar with the Magenta deck, I comboed off and put it right into the drop instead of my Z energy. And that's kind of almost like a telling sign what to expect in a couple of turns. In my hand currently is oh my god, it's not plaything, it's the gate that plays a one drop black card.
Playtime's over.
Playtime's over, thank you, Jimmy. And so like when you see that card go into the drop, you just have to like, oh, he's gonna play that eventually. That's gonna come out. Gotcha. Alright.
The real thought is like Bancroft really dumb. He don't know how to Z charge yet.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. If I have one in the drop, I'll go ahead and Z charge it right off the bat. That way I can use it for other things. Or if I'm able to establish a Z battle card this turn, then I will definitely Z charge it and then immediately just use it to put it back into the drop. But this is a perfect opportunity for you to play one of probably the best black cards for yellow, and that's Poutine. So here we talk about, but then I think we take it back because his skills are blank, so I wouldn't get the negate on it, and I debated about doing it or not, and I still go ahead and go with the negate, and Poutine taps it.
Yeah. Um, This turn is a little bit weird for me because I only had access to this initial pair of Trunks and Vegetas, but I still wanted to pressure you early, draw cards, and remove your battle card to keep the tempo kind of in my favor. So to finish off my turn here, I'm gonna do something a little bit unorthodox that experienced Trunks and Vegeta players might have not seen, or maybe experienced players have done, but newer players might have not seen, where the leader doesn't care what color or what energy cost Vegeta you put underneath. It cares what color. Excuse me, I misspoke. So I can put this 3-drop underneath my leader to awaken, and then the 1-drop will go to the drop area. So on my next turn, when I swing, I can play it out and start doing some attacking.
And you choose to go ahead and swing with the Trunks. I think he even said, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna do this anyways." Like he almost didn't want to do that because I asked you after you swung. Like, does he restand? I can't remember.
He does if I use the Z battle card, Gohan come what may, but just wasn't really an option at this juncture in the game. And because you have uh, really decent hand control elements in your deck, I wanted to put on as much pressure as I could early. Looking back, I think there was a more optimal way to conduct that turn, but I think I came out okay overall.
And for those of you who play against like Trunks Vegeta, this gets interesting. Like here, I'm about to use the leader's ability to play a card, and I have to stop myself because whatever I play, you get to pretty much put into rest mode unless it has barrier. But I think Trunks is red. You could just choose any card, or is the card coming into play?
The first card you play gets automatically chosen and then switched to rest
Okay.
mode. And I think it's worded that way so it doesn't hit cards with barrier.
So I opt out just to play a Z battle card instead. So that way I'm not losing out on whatever potential card I'm playing. Because I think I have the cooler in my hand, which is a double strike, and I think it's a 25k. And I didn't want to lose out on that 25k swing. So I wanted to go ahead and use the a Z battle card to proc your thing and then go into this.
Yeah, really smart play overall. This was one of the cards I was kind of worried about in the matchup because yellow does play so many counter effects. You could just build a wide board like you're doing now, activate one of these guys, and each time I negate, you're just going to draw a card, almost like a reverse topo. So, yeah,
Which I
kind of
don't
worried about that.
I don't do the on play auto because I want to maximize the discard on that turn, on that play. And I don't activate the main here on the Gambit because you are tapped out and you're not at 5 life. So if you're at 5 life, it'll be beneficial to use the effect because then you would just use the counter potentially and put a block and toker on the board. So instead of hold off, leave you at 6, I poke at your battle board, your battle cards, and then I swing at your leader with a double strike, put you at 4 life, and just pass at that.
Yeah, much more optimal way to damage me here, keeping me from getting full value out of that Frieza's army reinforcement.
I wasn't here for the first little bit of this video, but did we shout out TCG medals for the
We did
absolutely
not. Thank you for
beautiful
reminding me. We got this,
golden Chunks Vegeta leader?
which is still
Yeah.
a great leader. I think the moment I remember showing Jake, you were like, "I got my leader," and I'm like, "Yeah, I got you one too."
Yeah, I actually got mine. I had ordered the regular one because the golds were sold out, and I had got that in the mail the same day. And Bancroft actually surprised me with this. So shout out to TCG Metals, awesome guys. If you want metal leaders, acrylic Z leaders, uh, check them out.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of stuff for One Piece too, right?
Yes, they're doing a lot
Yeah.
of One Piece right now, which is a card game we probably won't get into. I don't think a lot of
Hell
people.
no, fuck that game.
I don't think a lot of people from our locals are really interested in playing One Piece, so
I'm sure it's a good game.
it's getting a lot of support. But we're not here to talk about that right now.
No, I'm all here for it.
Okay, well,
I don't give a shit about Dragon Ball. I'm all on Digimon now.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're on Digimon now after me and Fluff have pretty much left it.
Yeah. Now I get
Makes
to have fun with people I like.
oh that makes sense.
Yeah. Me,
So
myself, and I.
you swung with Vegeta, um, because of that conversation. I think I petrified it, didn't I? So
Yeah,
you wouldn't get your auto on it, and then I
yeah.
negate it, and you chose not to continue your turn, which is kind of smart.
Um, Pretty much. Uh, I spent my entire last turn building back from what you had removed the turn prior, and wasn't really quite expecting to take as much damage as I did. So I figured it was better to just play things a little bit safer.
So this Broly play, looking back on it, I should have probably waited on this just to see what you would have done on negates. Like my main thing was like, okay, it's yellow. He could probably play a really good flood control negate, and then I won't have any cards there for the effect. So I instead my brain's like, oh, just play it, clear the board. Now you have a threat on the board, but now you know what to block is the problem. Instead of trying to apply pressure, swing with the double strike, and then potentially play the Broly, when say if you establish a blocker negate, been ready for it. I just played ahead of time, and I feel like that might have been the wrong play in the long run. But I do go ahead and proc the activate main on the gamma by bottom. I think it's bottom decking one of your cards from your hand, which I almost put in the drop because I just misread it and I fixed it.
Yeah, we I think that happens a couple times throughout the course of the game, but we catch it every time.
And I was right. You did have a negate. So
Yeah, classic floodgate for yellow. Um, I think your take about maybe holding back on the battle card play for later in the turn was a good one. Just because, like, traditionally the best way to play against yellow is to do all of your things before you spend any energy.
yeah. And here you just activate negate instead. I'm like, okay, well that works. And I do get to draw off that. I think I drew off that. I hope I drew off that.
Um, just because the sheer number of cards that Trunks and Vegeta does draw, even with me taking cards out of my hand to activate these negates and you adding cards to yours, we're just kind of getting closer to parity than me really going on a big deficit here.
Yeah. And because of that, I didn't want to apply more pressure. If I would have attempted to swing again, I would have had to go down to one energy, and I just didn't want to risk that. So just leaving it at that. You're at 3 life. I'm at 4 life. What can happen? So you think about Z Awakening here, and I will say I did forget that this Trunks for some reason has crit when you Z Awaken, and I just think that's ridiculously good because the 8 drop has crit. So like if you get a good setup with those two cards, because it restands the 8 drop. Does it restand itself? I don't think it does. I think it just restands the 8
No.
drop. Yeah, but that's
And
still like
only once per turn as well.
3 crits, and it reminds me of Turning the Tides. Like when you play Turning the Tide against someone with 2 life, your first swing is with the crit, and then it's just whatever else afterwards. You know?
Yeah, and the fact that the Z leader is in the Z deck, excuse me for speaking like that, like, I don't know. But um basically you can whittle your opponent down to a situation where both players have very little in their hand and then you just kill them with repeated crit swings.
I will say, unfortunately, I did not see another playtime is over to kind of you did discard 3 cards, and now I'm forced to have to take these couple hits right now. And you chose the Broly at first, and I was just reminding you like the Broly no longer has triple strike. It's only for the turn he's played, and the cooler always has double strike. So you opted to pick that one instead.
Yeah. um I'm not 100% sure if this is the turn. Yeah, I think this is the turn where I make another play where I'm going to KO more battle cards this turn. So wasn't really too sure about or worried about optimizing the order.
Yeah, going into the 8 drop right now, which is really good because it's a single strike that if you activate its ability restands itself. No,
No,
it pops a card.
you can you draw a card, it'll pop two of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode and then give itself triple strike. And it has crit inherently. So as long as this guy gets into the battle step, it's really potent.
Yeah, that triple strike was what really worried me. Like, I have 4 cards in my hand, and the question breaks down to if I take the triple strike, what am I losing? And can I, with my 4 cards in my hand, survive with just those cards?
Yeah, I mean it's triple crit too, so
Yeah.
you're not even gonna see those.
So it's either do I play with the cards I have currently in my hand and hope that these are good enough and take the hit, or do I combo out and then have nothing left and try to somehow pivot the next turn with maybe, a god draw, get the card I need to draw into just to end everything. But whatever I play next turn is getting tapped down because of your trunk, so I have to think about how to play around that.
Yeah, this is kind of where the control elements of Trunks and Vegeta start to shine a little bit. In these down to the wire situations where your opponent might only have one play to make each turn, but as long as you have a Trunks established, it's just going to get switched to rest mode, and then you can use that Trunks to block the leader and turn off an opponent's entire turn in a late game situation like that.
Yeah. And so I do combo out, hoping that maybe I can get something to either take care of your one battle card to keep me alive long enough, or, just maybe just scoop.
You do have the life lead here, so if you're able to clear the board and just start going one for one, you could win that way, but you're definitely on the back foot here.
Yeah. And I think I don't charge. I play the 1 drop and go for the draw, just right off the bat. Knowing it's going to proc that, hoping to draw on something that would benefit me a little bit more in this particular push. And I remember thinking back on this. We don't know what we're going to draw. We don't know what's in our life. That's the RNG of the game. I actually, as the turn kind of, not this turn, but during your turn kind of unfolds a little bit, wish I would have held on to that 1 drop instead. But here, I'm using Leader's Effect to just play the 4 drop instead of the auto on the Red Ribbon Army card, and then activating main to give it a crit. You have 1 open energy. You do have a blocker. I'm just trying to see if I can get something out there, and you mech, and I'm like, all right, cool. That's gonna be a pass.
What a
Yeah.
gross mecha.
Yeah.
Shit.
That's the mecha that you got from TCG Con with this deck, pretty much.
Yeah, I played this deck and earned that card. Looking back, there is a slight misordering of things, if I remember correctly, but at this stage, you were pretty much just like, kill me. I should swing with the 8 drop first and then swing with the leader and activate the leader's effect to restand it, but overall, just a slight sequencing error.
Like,
I still pay the energy to activate the effect and all of that.
because these are 3 crit attacks, you see it. I've already was pre-grabbing the card, wait for you to declare an attack, and I'm like, okay, yeah, just whatever. So I lost. Like, you swung. I just looked at my life, see what it was. Going through my deck. Just, this is a normal gag I do with Jimmy. I'll just kind of like fake shit out there. But you had cool to go against my fake shit. So
fortunately, I had the counter.
It happens. So Villainous loses this time. Trunks Vegeta got it. And with that being said, thank you for tuning in. Keep on his buttons, links. Bye.